Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got playa props here coming off of a sweep, Nate, on Tuesday night with that 5-game slate. We've got 12 games to choose from here on Wednesday night. We also have a best bets video up. So go ahead and like and subscribe to that page and make sure that you are following along all season with both of these videos. We're bringing you each and every weekday. Also want you to head to thelines.com and use that odds finder tool that we have there under the NBA tab up on the website. Make sure that you're getting the best juice available to you from all these books that are giving us bets this NBA season. Nate, let's keep the heat going here and jump right into your first play of prop for tonight.
Yeah, it's a little scary, Bam under 22.5 points, because I do think he probably scores around 20. But like, so consistent is Bam Adebayo, and so consistently under 22.5 points is what we've seen. In 12 of his last 14 home games, he's gone under this number, averaging about 21 a game versus about 23 on the road. The exceptions, the Embiid-less Sixers on Christmas, he did go over there, and a high-scoring game against the Bucks where he'd only played a 7-man rotation and he had a huge usage rate. Lately, they've been going deeper. They have Tyler Hero back, which helps, which moves Duncan Robinson to the bench, and other guys back off the bench. They're averaging like 43 bench points per game in their last 4 here. And Hero is the key for me, because it's like Bam is happy to play facilitator, right? If he feels like his matchup individually is not as easy to score, he will run the offense from the elbow. He might get a bunch of assists tonight. And if Hero's feeling it, which he has been lately, like Hero's going to get the usage. So last 4 home games for Hero, 31% usage, 26 points per game. With Hero versus without him last season, Bam had a 25% usage with him versus 27.5% without him. So that's a much bigger sample size to go off here. And then, the matchup I'm talking about, people try Chet all the time. We talk about he sees a lot of field goal attempts against him, not necessarily with the most success. I mean, OKC allowing the 5th fewest points to centers, but 5th most assists to centers in their last 15 games. They allow the 2nd fewest paint points overall, but allow the 3rd highest assist to field goal ratio. So all indicates that like you can facilitate. Their defense overall has not been great lately. But I think Bam is like savvy enough to be like, I'm not going to like just go right at this young dude just to like prove something, because he's a good shot blocker. And like, I can score other ways. I can get my team going other ways than to just force it.
I like the find for sure. I was actually thinking about, going slightly the opposite route and fading Chet. Chet ain't scared of nobody. It doesn't matter who he's going up against. You got to mention that. So I was a little bit loath to go under, I believe it's 25.5 points and rebounds for Chet. I'm like, damn, I don't know if I can do it even with Bam. Like, it's definitely the type of player that would shut down Chet, but Bam's the type of player that would shut down any center. And I don't even really know if you want to say he shut down Alpi Şengün. He did cover keep him under the points, rebounds, and assists, though. Alpi still got his. So yeah, I'm a little bit scared of Chet, but I'm very interested in your Bam under, because I like the idea of the way that the Thunder are limiting centers doing other stuff, but they're not letting them score points specifically. And Bam is as much of a point center as you're going to find in the league, especially with Jimmy Butler out. So let's go ahead and get back into that Pacers and Wizards game and talk about Bruce Brown, because I mentioned Obi getting his in the other one, and there's some similar reasoning here, but I'm going to do some laddering here. I bet this last night, and it has gone up a point, and I still like it. So you've lost some juice on the ladder, but it's 12.5 now for Bruce, and that might be 13 before all is said and done, because it has gone from 11.5 to 12.5, juiced down minus 125 to the over on his 12.5 now. So that's why I'm saying, like, yeah, it could continue rising, but I still like it because I like the 15 plus for him. That got me plus 185. I'll get you plus 165 now. And the 18 plus points is plus 380, which I got at plus 425 just to brag. But more importantly, the unit measurement there, right? Like half a unit on the second ladder and the 0.2 units on the third. I mean, look, I'm actually happy that they got blown out by Boston when Halliburton wasn't playing, because Halliburton's only missed 3 games this season, and in 2 of those games that were not the blowout loss to Boston, we're talking about 17 points for Bruce and 30 points for Bruce in those 2 matchups without him, and both of those games were under 30 minutes for Bruce, where he was getting those points. So he's looking at 17 points a game in those 3 without Hallie. One of them, like I said, the blowout loss. The 26 games with Hallie, 11 points per game, so it's pretty pretty on point, right? And like even 11.5 was ridiculous without Halliburton in there, considering that's kind of what he gets anyway. And then you look at Washington. This is going to be who plays in transition. Bruce Brown plays the third most of any player on the team in transition, but he's the number one guard getting out into transition the most, right? And he might be less of a guard because you can put him on at times when you put him on the floor with Nembhard and Tyrese. But when you take Tyrese off the floor, Bruce Brown is 100% a part of your backcourt. And as much as he's a Swiss Army knife that can play all over the floor, because he's getting out in transition as the main ball handler consistently in transition, I'm going to stick with his points that he's going to finish around the rim and finish some open threes in transition as well. Rather than really even worry about the assists, he hasn't really seemed to just take on the facilitator role. If anything, Nembhard, when his stats come out, will be a bit more of the passer and the guy who, when it's a half court offense, is dribbling and trying to set stuff up the way that Halliburton does when the Pacers get into the half court. So Nemby for the can we call him Nemby? I'm going with Nemby. Nemby for the assist is the play there. For Bruce, I just straight like the points.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering how to target the Pacers without Halliburton. I feel like we don't have a sample size because, yeah, it's just been a couple blowout losses, like you said, and then also some weird results with the Wizards their last two meetings. But I think you can count on this not being a blowout loss at the very least for the Pacers. Like, no way they're gonna get trucked by a Wizards team that has 4 wins all season and just caught them after the IST. So they should be competitive. Brown, taking on kind of that leadership role after coming off of his championship and probably taking on an increased scoring load for sure, like you said. Speaking of the champs, we'll go Aaron Gordon here. Nuggets are at Utah. High scoring projected game, 237. I'll take Gordon, 20.5 points and rebounds against the Jazz here. Basically coming off extra rest because he only played 20 minutes in a blowout win over the Pistons Sunday. Jokic, Murray also got some extra rest here. And on 2 days rest this season, Gordon is averaging 18 points and 8 rebounds a game with 20% usage. Definitely spikes here. His previous two, after coming back from the hand injury before that blowout, he got 23 points, 8.5 rebounds per game in some pretty favorable matchups. Utah's been a pretty good matchup for him. 8 full games with the Jazz since joining the Nuggets. He's averaged 23 points / rebounds, including, 7 earlier this season. He had a 23.5% usage rate and a 10% offensive rebounding rate. So, you look for Gordon when he's able to kind of use that physical advantage, just being stronger than the opposite 4. I think he is bigger and stronger than Markkanen. If they go that route, might be some cross-matching with John Collins, depending how Will Hardy wants to match up against Jokic. But we've also seen Jokic facilitate more against Utah, 35 assists in his last 3 with a pretty low usage rate. And Gordon's often going to be on the dunking end of those assists. Utah allows the 3rd most points to power forwards on the season, 5th most rebounds to the position in the last 15 games. So I'll take Gordon to keep coming back strong here.
Yeah, there probably is a mental side to this with him of wanting to like keep it going and prove that he's still fine. It seemed that way in the first couple games back from the incident. So I think I continue to ride with Aaron Gordon, and as long as they've got someone in there that Gordon needs to stay near the rim for, then it's a good Aaron Gordon game, right? When you got guys that can pull him away because the power forward is more of a stretch and doesn't really bang down low, and there's no one for him to bang with, right? And it's almost like he's just like a soldier without a war to fight when there's nobody down there that can really hang with his muscle, because then he starts drifting away from the rim a bit more. But in this one, even if Walker Kessler's not out there, you've still got Markkanen, you've still got John Collins, and you're going to get them that's good matchups for Aaron Gordon to have to stay on the floor. So I like the Aaron Gordon pick in this particular game. I'm going to finish up with that Warriors game that we spoke about, both liking the Pellies to win in the best bets video. Here I'm going under for Steph, and you can still get 10.5 on his rebounds and assists. There's some 9.5s out there as well. Obviously, better juice on the 9.5, but I really like the 10.5 because that is something he really, really doesn't do much, even more so than the 9.5. So that's still, I can get -124 on DraftKings for him to go under 10.5. I think that might rise because it opened at 9.5. So you might even keep getting better juice on it. But go ahead and feel free to hit it now. New Orleans is limiting point guards in a lot of ways, mostly points, to be honest with you. But this is just a different type of matchup. Like The Magic are also limiting point guards when it comes to points. That didn't stop Steph from scoring because there's, like we've talked about, there's no defense for 35-foot 3-point shots. There is defense for a shorter guard who doesn't have much room to work with in the lanes, not getting in there to get rebounds. So the rebounds are awesome. They just keep dropping. It's 3.5, and I can't reasonably take under 3.5 by itself. If like a ball just bounces weirdly to Steph, we were talking about 4 boards and whatever, right? So I didn't really want to mess with just that, but I do like adding them both together because I do think there's a correlation to him not really being in the spots on the floor for the rebounds. I also think the assists are going to be very hard to come by in a long, rangy defense that knows that you just need to take the ball out of Steph's hands. I took over Steph assists in the Raptors game, and the Raptors and the Pellies are very similar defenses in how they limit assists, how they limit things. They play decent pressure defense, but once you get into the lane, it's really just all about long arms and people being able to like collapse on you. And when he gets there, there's not quite the same shooters. There's just none. They're not there for him anymore for those assists to be there. He had 8 potential assists versus the Raptors and ended with 6. That's an anomaly, right? You don't expect the potential assist to be at around like an 80% clip that he's going to go ahead and hit them. So in this one, like the last 15 games is really what I'm looking at for him. And that's Draymond being back doesn't really do much for me just yet. We'll have to see how that works. Chris Paul going out was actually harmful for sure because there was less opportunity for Steph to play off the ball. You didn't have, there's one less player that you really need to worry about his playmaking for the defenses taking on the Warriors right now. And that's why with Steph, like the rebound chances, the assists as well, the 8 potential assists per game that he's averaging in the last 15, he's got 5 assists a game in that time frame, right? So we're looking at about 8.5 total in the last 15 without Draymond and now a couple without Chris Paul. And yeah, I just think you're going to keep seeing like barely any rebound chances for the dude. I think his MO tonight is score, score, score. And he might get the ball forced out of his hands a few times, but I don't think he's going to be in situations to set up his guys with clean looks.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that tracking that he's been doubled at like a 95th percentile rate lately. So, I mean, it's going to be hard to get an assist if you're getting doubled that far from the basket as Steph. Like, it's going to be the secondary assist, if anything. Also, a potential blowout factor here if the Pelicans do take care of business because they are the superior team. The Warriors are shorthanded without Chris Paul in the second unit there. Look, I mean, you've hit these rebound assist unders twice in a row, and I've thrown some question marks at it, saying, I don't know, maybe I would just take the assist, but you needed to take both. So I will follow you on this one and say let's take under rebounds and assists.
You like the rebounds more.
I don't know what I like with Steph. I'm just saying the last 2 with Chris Middleton, with Scotty Barnes, I said, I don't know. They might get the rebounds. Yeah. And you're follow Josh rebound chances Lander when he sees those advanced stats.
Josh rebound chances, comma, potential assists, comma, JL Boogie Lander. Patent pending on that name there. Appreciate everybody following along. That is all the time that we have for you guys in this one. We also have best bets up for you as well each and every weekday. So check that one out. And until we see you next, happy betting. Stepping up.